we've kind of rolled into this talking point with the 49ers-Eagles game. That was one of the most frustrating games to watch because you have a team that's literally on practice squad players. You have a team that is out of bodies, out coaching you, out maneuvering you, and out willing you. Brock Purdy, I don't think played particularly well. Bad turnovers in this game.
Yeah.
Bad turnovers in this game. They still won. This was an absurd stat that I found. The Eagles had a +2 turnover margin and a +65 rushing yard margin in the loss. The Eagles became the first team in the Super Bowl era to lose a playoff game with a turnover margin better than +1 and a rushing yardage margin better than +50. You know what the record was before that? 132-0. It is such a simple concept, by the way, in football, and it's something that we talk about a million times over. The team that wins the turnover margin and wins the line of scrimmage and runs the ball better oftentimes wins. This stat proves that. Up until the Eagles find a way to shit out their own ass and become the first team to not succeed in that scenario. Insane. Absolutely insane. And I think it goes to show that Jalen Hurts is so reliant on an offensive coordinator that is just so brilliant at scheming things. I know that Patullo is obviously at fault here for being a dunce, but the fact that we're still pretending, or anyone's pretending, that Jalen Hurts is some sort of otherworldly quarterback. He is the 17th best quarterback. I'm just arbitrarily throwing that out there. He is good enough to win you football games. He's good enough to be out there, but I would not, in any circumstance, zero, go and make a move to go and get Jalen Hurts. He's not somebody I would rely on.
No.
I get that. This is why it's so frustrating, is that he obviously played well in the Super Bowl, but that was the best game of his career.
Yeah. And that's credit to him for actually showing up and having the best games of his career in the big one. But holy, you just cannot have this performance. You cannot lose to the San Francisco 49ers in this game if you're Philly. At home, Roland, Saquon, Devontae, Goddard, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. The tush push, the ramifications of the tush push that people were calling out early on. It's like looking at the first doctor that looks at cigarettes is like, oh, these things might actually be bad for you. And everyone's like, no, they're fine. They taste good. I'm a little buzzed. No, I think the tush push was injuring defensive players all the time, and it was wearing them out on drives, and they physically could not keep up with Philly after a drive with 2 or 3 of them. And they're just like, we can't keep on having 2 tons of mass lay on us and then expect to go cover these freaks. Can't do it. You take that out of the arsenal. Oh, what a human team this is. No more is this the Avengers of the NFC East. This is just a team. This is just a regular team with a regular quarterback, a great running back, and an offensive line that if they were healthy, maybe they do win this one. Maybe it's a little less pressure, but I really, one of the more satisfying losses I can remember watching Philly go down. It's always fun watching Philly go down. It's always fun watching the meltdown.
Minus my bet not hitting.
I think Nick Sirianni reeks. Like, as a coach, whatever, he gets this team up and they play for him. That's all that's said about it. I don't believe that. I think this is a players winning to spite their coach situation, which works. That's a strategy that has been used in football. But in the modern era, it's a little different. You're going to, unless you're winning every single year, you can't be the a-hole and then also be like cursing, yelling, get in the face of A.J. Brown, making a fool out of yourself, losing to Brock Purdy when he throws 2 picks. You can't do that. I think he's a bit of a clown. You don't fire him 2 years after you won a Super Bowl. I understand there's decorum there.
No, a year after.
Well, I'm thinking after this one, it'll be 2, but
yeah.
You just don't do that. But it's not a squeaky clean safe job. Like this guy is. Well, the optics are as bad as the results are good, is what I'll say.
How long after Doug Peterson winning a Super Bowl did they fire him? It's just because you win a Super Bowl doesn't mean that you have permanent security. This is why the evaluation and the discussion of Sirianni and Hurts is generally quite complicated. is because they won the Super Bowl last year, and I think a lot of things went right that set up for the circumstance for them to have accomplished that. I think that the real truth that just comes away with all of this is that Howie Roseman is such a brilliant roster builder that a moron could coach this team to playoff victories. So the fact that with that core of players, they could not win against a team that had no bodies left. The fact that they couldn't win down the stretch, and Jalen Hurts was errant in all over the place and didn't step up when they needed him to the most, I think goes to show where their actual strengths lied. I think that we understand who the players were that were carrying the team and where the dead weight was. And I think it's Sirianni, and I think that it's with Jalen Hurts. I think that Kellen Moore, as he proved the improvements that the Saints had down the stretch, if the Saints end up becoming competitive and developing into a really good team, I think this is something that we'll be talking about in 3-4 years of, man, it really was all Kellen Moore. And this is something that just generally is always a really interesting perspective to look at, and I always love to look back at it a couple of years after, is how much was it the coordinator and how much was it the head coach? Right now, another example of that is the Lions. Lions, look, I love Dan Campbell. I think that Dan Campbell's a great coach, but current moment, it seems like Ben Johnson had a lot to do with that team being as good as it was.
Oh, yeah, big time. Philly's a different team this year. Another point to blame outside of Quinyon Mitchell, the defensive backfield, horrendous in this one. You just the guys that were catching passes for San Francisco are just ridiculous, and they were all impact catches. Demarcus Robinson had 111 yards. Who?
Dead ass.
Against Philly? Kyle Juszczyk, 4 catches for 49. Who? The fullback? You're giving that up? Terrible. Defense was terrible in this one. Like Christian McCaffrey catch 2. The last one was great. Like credit to the 49ers are just so well coached. And that was the whole scuttlebutt at the water cooler today in the office was, man, Shanahan has to be coach of the year. They're just so well coached. How do you do that to Philly? How do you walk him down with Brock Purdy? He's kind of mid. How do you do that? How does Juwan Jennings throw a crazy touchdown? He's kind of mid also. They did it. They just don't make the mistakes. They had Eric Kendricks off the couch making tackles for him. Are you kidding? What a team. Say what you want about them. You might say they're not talented. They don't have the depth to really win it all. Whatever. Go ahead. Tell me. Look me in the eyes and tell me they're not going to cover. Look me in the eyes and tell me they're not going to play it all the way down into the fourth quarter and actually give you real burn the whole time. That's what San Francisco does. Kyle Shanahan's so dialed. Yeah. He knew exactly what he had to do to beat Philly. It was a great mix of like Christian McCaffrey fundamentals, little creativity. Back to C-Mac, little creativity. Purdy makes a huge mistake. We need to get some help. And then they did. Just really, really top to bottom, great performance from San Francisco. Well, I don't think they win it all.
No, I mean, exactly, you lose Kittle. This thing is cooked.
But this is the win though. This is one of these wins that gives you're not walking in the divisional round thinking, oh, we're cooked. Like, oh, I can't believe it. We don't have a shot. You got a shot. You always have a shot with that coach. You always have a shot with McCaffrey. And that's what matters. And that's what I thought Philly had going. Nope. That's San Francisco's bit this year. We're going to go with our strengths. Philly, they leaned on their weaknesses.
I'm very curious, as you said, to see how much this 49ers team could cobble something together, because they have won improbably plenty this year without any of its key starters, their whole defensive line. I think that the buck probably stops against the Seahawks, but my God, give Kyle Shanahan a lifetime contract. If you have not already established that, he is somebody.
Give him the Calipari.
Seriously,
Niner for life.
He is shown that he can turn duct tape and sticks into a winning football team. That is unbelievable that they won this game and they're still alive.